correct.
Yeah, I know. We need to get different lighting in here, but here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to another Stars podcast. Today we have a special guest with us. I like to call him my friend. He may not agree, but and my running coach and many other things. Professor at Slippery Rock University, owner of One Smart Step, which is a professional coaching program, and then also an ultra marathon runner for many of years. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Dr. Jeff Lynn.
Great.
He's joining us today.
Great applause, yeah.
And of course, as always, I'm Ron Jordan.
Aaron Diaz, good to see you guys. Diaz.
So Jeff, I brought you in today. I wanted to kind of discuss, as you know, our podcast is really about everybody in their own journey and sort of riding their own wave and being able to overcome adversities. And most of the time, as you and I have talked throughout, my running journey and fitness journey, that most of it is just right up in your head, right? Yes, the physical part is important. You have to be able to, you have to be able to run in order to run.
Right. That might help.
But to run long distances and really the point that I'm trying to make is no matter what you're trying to do, most of the time it's just in your head. Yeah. The reason why you can't do it.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to kind of talk on what One Smart Step is, because I thought that piece of it for our audience and how you approach it with your clients and the people that you're coaching, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that program. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to start there. And then I'm probably going to have to go backwards to make sense of this because how dare I do the stuff that I do, right? But
yeah, well, I don't even like to drive that far, right?
Oh, stop it. Yeah, so the One Smart Step was an idea that I had a few years ago, and it was born out of this. So I'm going to have to go backwards a little bit. So
sure.
I'm a professor of exercise physiology at Slippery Rock, and so my students were getting really good at prescribing exercise, but nobody does it. So it doesn't do you any good to give a perfect prescription if no one's actually going to do the exercise.
Yes.
So I was realizing, and I've known this for a long time as an athlete and a coach, that it's all between the ears, like you said. It's 90% mental and the rest is in your head. And so I thought, all right, what are we going to do? So I searched around and came across first motivational interviewing. So I gained some training and expertise on that.
That's awesome.
And then I realized that that's just a piece of what is legitimate mental coaching. So I went on to, I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach. But because I have a business background, so I also have a degree in business, I was able to use that to also be an executive coach. So I wanted to train my students to have some of the ability to help people find their motivation and drive them. So I was using it that way. And then I thought I can use this in a lot of other ways. So I started my company, and it is One Smart Step. And the SMART, the SMART are capital letters, and it's about goal setting, specific, measurable, action-oriented, the whole SMART idea. Anyway,
right.
Realistic and time-bound. I should probably finish the word.
All good.
Yeah. So, what I did then is I started working in the field and doing executive coaching and working with managers and showing them that there's a better way. Basically, it's stop managing and start coaching. And I started doing talks around the country on this. And I've got a workshop coming up in April over in D.C.
Right.
And so I've got clients from California to Florida, and it's largely showing a different approach to helping people become their best selves, and whether that's at work or whatever it is.
Because I love it.
Yeah.
You're talking our language here. This is awesome. Great talk.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you say is, you're taking their ideas and making it actionable.
Right.
So everybody has a lot of good ideas,
Yeah.
but it's taking that step to make it actionable.
Yeah.
And that's where you're bridging the gap.
Yeah. Well, so I gave a talk not long ago called the Simple Complexity of Motivation.
Okay.
Because in some ways it's incredibly simple, But for most people, it's really, really complex. And part of it is most of us don't spend enough time getting in touch with what really matters, those core values. What will you go to the mat for? Even if it seems like strategically ineffective, you're not budging from this because it's part of who you are. If you think of like your brand and your core, all that. But most people don't think of that. But here's why that's so important. At any given time, you got competing motivators, right? There's the extrinsic motivator. I want to have a cinnamon roll and sit on the couch. And then there's that intrinsic motivation. What is it that you really want deep down? And most people aren't in touch with that.
Right.
So when that happens, I'm going to have a cinnamon roll and sit on the couch. However, if you are really, really in touch with what's going to motivate you. And so I've done a lot of thinking, and I guide other people to think really hard about this and figure out what is it that's so important that when it's time to have a cinnamon roll and sit on the couch, you're going to say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do these pull-ups. I'm going to go for my run. I'm going to be with my wife, whatever it might be. And that's what I help people do. Find that core value and then make simple plans and take one smart step towards that, executing that plan. So, it's not that different from, in military where you might need to you got to figure out what's most important right now and execute. That's it. And so often we live in the now, which there's nothing wrong with living in the now and being mindful, but you got to know what those core values are so that you're not just living in the now.
Like what's the end game?
That's
like
it.
What's the end game?
That's
So the pre-contemplation and then making it an actual phase.
Right. And, and a lot of people, pre-contemplation is a good word, and people will be in contemplation, they'll be in planning. And so they're already taking steps in the right direction, but you get derailed. And here's an example of not even being in planning, being in maintenance. So I'm running an ultra marathon, and starting at 6 a.m, right? So you running or maybe even 5:30, first light, basically, you're out on the trail. And, you're running along, and 6, 7 o'clock comes around. I've been running an hour or two. Maybe that's as much as anyone would run, or more than anyone would run.
Right.
And I'm thinking, all right, people are getting up, having their breakfast right now, and you're on the trail, and so you keep running. It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, running. It's noon. I'm thinking, people are having lunch right now in the rest of the world, and I'm here on the trail and out in the forest, and the day keeps going on. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, people are having dinner right now, right? And I'm maybe having some soup at one of the aid stations and eating gels and drinking. But here's the thing. So then it gets to be night. People are going to bed. It's midnight. It's 1 o'clock. Been running since 5:30 or 6 a.m, and I'm thinking of a specific time that I see the wheels are coming off, basically. So everything hurts. My feet hurt. In fact, I've had stress fractures before, and my feet hurt. And I'm thinking, I might be getting stress fractures again. This hurts really bad. And my back hurt. I have a little back injury. And I felt really exhausted. Like I need some food. I'm cold. It was raining the entire time. I'm freezing now. And it just, I don't know if you've ever been so fatigued. Sometimes if you do like leg work and you come off of a machine and you feel wobbly, like I'm not sure I'm going to be able to take the next step. So I was actually getting to the point where I thought, my quads give out, I might go down. Like, I don't know. And then, so, 80 some miles into this thing, and I'm seeing in the distance a glow of the aid station. And what's great about the aid station is I got somebody there with a car, and there's food, and I can get warm, and I can
100%.
end all of this.
Right.
And who's going to fault me for it? If I tell them, I thought my feet were breaking, I thought my legs were going to go down, and can I really be in the middle of the forest at the middle of the night and have all that happening? Everybody's going to understand.
Yeah.
So,
and that's all going through your head.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, 100.
Completely.
Like it's all running through
As
on
your
repeat.
feet are still moving.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So doing
I
run
got
walking
it.
and looking ahead. And thinking
Like that's
that,
the internal monologue.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Now, so here's the thing, though. I'm able to, because I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I think we all need to do this and get in touch with it. And a long time ago, I lived in a small town, Salem, Ohio. My neighbor was this guy named Fred Cope. And Fred was an amazing runner a long, long time ago. In fact, he was an alternate in the Olympics. He was roommates with Jesse Owens in the
No
90s.
way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Fred was a real deal. So I'm finishing a run one day, and Fred's walking his dog. At this time, he's like 85 years old. And I run up to him. He's asked me, how's my run going? I'm like, it's all right, Fred, but I am plateaued. I need some help. I know that you are a great runner. Give me some words of wisdom. I need some advice. What should I do to get over this plateau? And he paused for a minute. He looks down at me. He's a little taller than I am. And his eyes like get real steel. And he says, suffer. And now I'm waiting I'm thinking, all right, give me the advice.
What else?
Yeah.
But yeah, right.
Now I'm ready for the advice.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing changes. His face did nothing. Right,
Yeah.
right. And so I turned around, I walked back to my house. I'm like, that was so weird. Like,
Yeah.
right? Now, here's the thing. That was like 30
Profound.
Yeah, that was like 30 years ago. Now, a
Yeah.
lot of people have given me crap advice. We always get advice. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
I cannot forget Fred Cope. Because here's the thing. Can you think of anything that you've ever done that you're really proud of, that changed who you are, that is at your core, that you didn't suffer for?
Oh, there's nothing.
It doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
It is an essential ingredient in success and in becoming the person that you want to be. You got to suffer. And so, there's a saying that probably everybody listening is familiar with, and it's born out of the military, I think in one of the Iraq conflicts, is embrace the suck, right?
We say it continuously.
Yeah.
Embracing the suck.
So here it is. If you know that everything that's life-changing for you is going to require suffering, then you can be in that suffering and embrace it and realize this is it right here.
And you realize that it's better for you.
That's
Like,
it.
At that juncture, whenever you have that internal monologue going, you always go back to, this is better for me.
That's it. This is why I'm here.
Right.
So you don't run an ultra marathon because it's easy.
No.
And I don't know that everybody's really in touch with it. And there's
No.
different reasons.
That's
But
something I can't do.
yeah, right.
But that's also my monologue saying I can't do it.
Well, sure. Well,
And then setting me up for failure that, you know what, I can't do it.
Do you have
Right.
kids?
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this.
Got a lot, actually.
All right. So if I had your kids, if I went out and took them, and
Done.
You don't know where I am.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
said the only way you're getting these kids back is if you cover 100 miles on foot.
All on it. Heck, absolutely.
All right, this is what I'm talking about.
On my hands.
Getting in touch with the core values. What is it that's so important
Got it.
that you could do anything for? And it might not, I mean, it's for you, it's not ultra marathon, but what is it that you would go down for? And so for me, I mean, part of my core value is this continuous improvement. And so I know, so I go do the ultra marathon, not because it's easy, but because I'm going to get faced with that horrible, horrible feeling of, I don't think I can do this. And that's what I have to overcome at midnight in the rain where everything's coming apart and I could quit. So for me, luckily, that inner dialogue is also sitting in there. And so I'm able to say, I got to get in and out of this aid station as fast as I can because I'm not making forward progress when I'm there. And now that dialogue takes over and I get in and out of that aid station. I'm back on the trail. And that's, it doesn't matter if it's an ultra marathon or going, trying to have a better relationship with your spouse or like my students trying to pass a chemistry test. I don't know what it is for people. And so this is where coaching comes in, and I don't know what it is when I sit down with somebody. So how do I know? I ask questions.
Right.
And help them figure it out. But if you can figure
And
that
that was-
out, it's powerful. No, sorry.
Yeah, that was the biggest difference in the way that you approached me versus everybody else that's approached me. As far as a coaching standpoint, there were a lot of questions that you asked me as far as what is your motivator,
Right.
and I gave you a lot of surface level motivations, and that wasn't it.
No.
It wasn't it. And what you just hit on was that continuous improvement to be better. For ultimately, what it comes down to is be better for my family.
Well, there it is.
And that's
strong motivator. Family.
Yeah, strong motivator.
Yeah.
But I was giving because I want to be in shape. I want to do this. I want to, and it's all tip of the iceberg stuff.
Right.
And what you dug down to was profound for me. And it's propelled me to in those situations that you're talking about. Whenever more or less shit hits the fan, and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. You do have that internal monologue again that comes back. It's very powerful.
Yeah,
So.
staying in touch with that is critical. And like you said, the superficial, that's where we generally stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so what my training helps me to do is get past that.
Right.
And it's helping you get past it because I can't. You can't really motivate someone. You can help them get in touch with their own motivation.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as the unmotivated person. They just haven't figured it out yet. It's there. You just got to dig deep enough to find it.
The other thing, with you feeling that, with you having that in mind, that motivation, now it's able to articulate that motivation to your spouse, to your kids,
Right.
to your family,
Right.
and then you start to feel it even more.
Yeah.
So as far as like being a business owner, there's a lot of times that I take away from my family,
Right.
take away from my friends, and then my wife will get discouraged, and I'll say, hey, look. remember, this is the long game.
Right.
So I know my goals. I know that I want to continue to build a legacy for my family. And I'm like, look, this is what we have to go through.
Right.
We're all in now.
Yeah.
You know? So like now if we did all that suffering up to this point, it was for nothing.
Right.
So now I'm feeling it even more. But like, all right, babe. So you got to be able to feel that with me.
Right.
And without having that inner monologue, you can't articulate that to
What's
the people
important
you
too
love.
that you guys have a meet. I don't want to say like a formal meeting, but you guys had a meeting together, and you both share those core values.
Right.
And whenever you can share those core values, and as far as a family is concerned, that's when things go way outside of what you even thought was possible.
Yeah.
You know.
To me, that is real communication. You know, people like to say that communication is the key to a good relationship, but not superficial communication.
Right.
And so the people that I've trained to be coaches, in the training, they'll sometimes come back and say, I just had the best conversation I've ever had with my wife. In fact, so I was working with somebody from California, and he's a business owner. And he said, I've been married for 15 years. I just had the best conversation I've ever had with my wife. Because it was
fantastic.
getting out of the superficial and getting down to the stuff that really matters.
Right.
And it's just, we don't think about it enough.
Yeah. So there's so much more to just having these goals set for you personally. There's so much more that gets involved in that. And like you said, it increased a relationship with him and his wife.
Yeah.
So like that was the outside effects of you being goal oriented.
It's the ripple.
Yeah,
And that's,
that spiders into all avenues of your life.
Yes.
Once you start having that mindset, it creeps into your school, it creeps into your personal life as far as your family, creeps into your business.
Right.
But the same thing happens with a negative mindset.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And no matter what, you're dealing with it. Whatever you're feeling, you're dealing with it. Are you going to deal with it head on?
Right.
Or are you just going to deal with it by eating a cinnamon roll and sitting on the couch?
Right. Well, and
You know, it's
and
like it's a weird thing.
Shout out to cinnamon rolls. Come on now.
We got some
all right.
upstairs.
I
That's why they're on the
bad mouthing cinnamon rolls. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah,
We actually made some. That's why they're on my mind.
that's the reason I thought of it too. I don't mind cinnamon rolls, and I'm not all about total suffering. I'm about balance. But if your life doesn't have a course of suffering, something's missing, and you're not going to be the person that you want to be. And it's got to be. You don't just go out and suffer for suffering. It's about doing the thing that you need to do to get where you want to be.
Right.
And bringing other people along. You know, one of the strongest motivators for humans is service. Being of service to other people. Yes. And so in that, and I'll talk about, if you have experience in the military, when you find people who are really bonded as brothers, often that doesn't happen at work, but you see this in military people all the time. And part of that has to do with being of service and caring about those other people as much or more than yourself. And that's really motivational. Because if I said right now, would you die for somebody you work with? Probably most people listening would say, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that
but
one.
Now let's go out. Let's go out into people that are in a forward situation. Say, would you die for that guy next to you? And most people are going to say, yeah, I would do that.
Absolutely.
And so how does that happen? That's a powerful bond of service to someone else. And so, like you just mentioned, what I'm doing could be looked at as pretty selfish. I'm talking about self-improvement, but I'm not doing it in a vacuum. I'm doing it in a way that is going to ripple out and be useful to other people. And so that's part of it.
Preach, brother, preach. I love
so
it.
you think a large portion of just humans in general, the motivation is being selfless?
Yeah. And there's good research on this. Yeah. Because as a professor and a scientist,
Absolutely.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm always going back to where's the evidence.
And that's what it always is.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that's where you can read whatever you want to read online, but the science-backed information is really where I fall back to for mine.
And this is true of business as well. Whether you're starting a business or just at work, are you doing it just for yourself, or do you have a deeper reason for doing it? And that, if you've got that deeper reason, stay in touch with that, because people become leaders, and if they're self-interested, they're going to be a bad leader.
Yes.
And we've all had managers or people that are like that.
Yes.
And then we've had leaders or managers who are first and foremost for the mission. And those are the people that I want to be with that person every time, because they're not about it for themselves. They're about it for the win. And I'm in. And that's really the long game. Like you said, that's the infinite game. We're going to be in this long term, and we're going to live it rather than I'm
Right.
just going to try to win this right now.
That's, and I say that all the time about business in general is whenever somebody told me this a long time ago, it's when you can help the other person make money, you'll never have to worry about money.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're helping them.
That's
I
it.
genuinely come at that because I do want other people to be successful and I want them to get theirs.
Right.
Because then, a byproduct of that is me doing very well.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's me doing very well really isn't the motivation. I love being able, like you said, to help those guys.
That's it.
And when they win, I win, not only in the business world, but just as far as a personal relationship goes with that person.
Yeah.
100%. I love that.
Well, and the whole idea of starting with why, right? And that's the idea of starting with your motivation, know your core values. So just to give an example of what you just said, I was working with a university marketing department. And I said, so tell me what you do. What is this all about?
Yeah.
And their answer, they gave me some of the things they do at work. Oh, we reach out and try to get people to come to. And I said, really? But what's this like? And it took a lot of talking. But bottom line is, so at the end, I said, so what you're doing is helping people live their dreams. Right. Now, as marketing department at a university, they're not thinking I'm helping people live their dreams. But, they're recruiting people into a university so those people can get the education to go do the thing that they want to do that's going to help them not only professionally, but because it's helping them that way, it's going to help them personally. It's going to help their family.
Yeah.
It's going to ripple outward. It's making them better in so many ways. That's what you're doing working in marketing.
Right.
And so now if you go in with that mindset, I'm going to help these people change their lives and change their families' lives and and that ripples out. I'm actually changing the world for the better by doing what I'm doing here today.
And that gives that company a sense of purpose now.
Right, exactly. And because that becomes culture building. Mm-hmm. Like we're here for a purpose, and it's a purpose bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you think it's also you have to have some sense of humility too? Like, look, I'm not the way, I'm a way.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and everybody has their own way, like you said. And preserving other people's autonomy is critical. Because, and this is part of coaching, is I almost never tell someone what to do. I ask questions and help them figure it out. So I just had a client who was trying to lose weight and struggling to lose weight. But here's the thing and I did my dissertation on weight loss with women and all that sort of stuff. So it's never about weight loss. It's about something deeper. If you lose the weight, what's that going to do for you? And so in 3 months, she went from, I can't control it, like there's pizza, there's all this stuff at work, and here I'm just continuing to gain weight. So 3 months later, she'd lost about 15 pounds. But moreover, she was ready to do it without me. And so on the last time we met, I told her, I want you to be ready to reflect on everything that's happened in the last 3 months and where you were and where you are now and how you got there, so that you can be in touch with that and keep it going, keep that momentum going. And one of the things that I really was proud of personally is when she was reflecting, she said, you never once told me what to do. And I thought, that's it. No, because it's in there.
Yeah.
All I did was help you get it out.
Yes.
And that's that. There's an infinite number of ways. It's not my way. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm going to help you find your way.
Right.
And we can all do that.
Nice.
We can all do that.
But that's a skill set of asking questions in a way that gets to them. So that not everybody can do that.
You're right. You're right. It takes
that's
a lot of
developed skill set to be able to communicate with somebody else to get to that core level.
You're right. Well, that's why there's a national board certification in coaching, because anyone can say I'm a coach right now.
Yes.
And that may change, but anyone can say it. But getting the real training is
right.
It's right. It's like any other skill. You're right. But realizing, I mean, the basic tenets are, I want to help people maintain their autonomy. I don't want to tell them what to do. I want to ask questions, help them not only find their motivation, because you talked earlier about executing, right? Executing the plan. All right. So not only finding your motivation, but now, if you look at the obstacle, you hit the obstacle, right? If you look at the path, you go down the path. So, so it's important to help people figure out, what are your strengths? What are your resources? What can you do? What are you willing to do? What are you willing and able to do this week? That's it. This week. Let's not even look past that.
Attainable goals.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, because it's too much to look at an entire mountain and say, I got to get up that mountain. But if I say, all right, but what about the next 10 steps? Yeah, I love reading research about survivors and victims. It's really interesting to me. And so, a great example is two guys get trapped on the side of a mountain and it's freezing. One guy's dead within 24 hours. The other guy's got a broken leg, but 6-7 days later gets out. And so the question is, how'd that happen? And he said, well, I could only take about 10 steps, but that's what I did. I took 10 steps.
100 times.
That's it. And 1,000 times and 100,000 times. And 6 days later, I was out. So that's it. It's about what can you do right now? And we can wrap our brains around that. We can do that. But sometimes you just look at too much at once.
Yeah. Actually, Tony Blauer, he says the same thing. He says, well, I don't know if I can go. He was talking with UFC fighters. He said, I don't know if I can go 4 rounds. He was like, well, can you go 1?
That's it.
He's like, yeah. He said, can you go 1 4 times?
That's it.
And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, boom, hello.
Yeah, you break those into chunks and
just take one smart step. So the last 100-mile race I did it in 10-minute segments. So I was never running more than 10 minutes.
Right.
And I had a plan in the beginning. I'm going to run 8 minutes. I'm going to walk 2. And during that walk, that's when I'm going to drink and I'm going to eat or whatever. And then later on, there were times where I'm going to run 2 minutes. I'm going to walk 8. But it was always 10 minutes. So the only thing I ever did during that entire 24 hours plus was 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Because I could wrap my brain around that, have a plan, and execute that plan. But if you're exhausted and thinking, I've got 27 miles to go, that's further than a marathon.
Yeah, that's too much to comprehend.
The brain starts to get, those demons start to creep in.
Yeah.
And they,
See, when we first started talking, I was like, I can't do an ultra marathon. And now, breaking it down, I'm like, I could run for 10 minutes.
Personally,
I love it. That was awesome.
Personally, I like ultras better than I like marathons.
I do too.
I like an ultra more than a marathon, 100%.
Yeah.
And really it's because there are those aid stations that, so at a marathon, the aid stations, at least the one that I went to, it was more about, filling up the water bottles and just keep going.
It's a table of drinks.
Yeah, table of drinks and maybe a couple goos if you're lucky. At the ultra, it's like a celebration at every single one of those, I call them pit stops. Because every single time it's like, okay, I know I only have to go 4 miles. I only have to go 5 miles.
Yeah.
I only have to go 6 miles. Because you're looking at the breakdown before you go to the race and you're like, okay, at 10 miles, I only have to go 4 more miles and then 6 more miles or whatever. And like you said, it's just breaking it up into those digestible chunks, and you're like, I do 6 miles all the time.
Yeah,
I do 4 miles all the time.
That's it. All I got to do is get to the next aid station. In fact, that's so I've been around ultra marathons for a long time. I've done 40 plus marathons and 18 ultras, up to 100 miles. But before that, I was on medical teams for a lot of races, including the Badwater 135, which is just brutal. 135 miles through the desert on blacktop. And so for 9 years, I was on the medical team of that race. And I realize that this is what a lot of people are doing. They're looking at making it to the next aid station, or making in that case they've got a van that's driving a mile or 2 up the road, and I just got to get up to that, because that your brain can handle. And you take too much of it at once, and it's just. And again, this is for anything.
Right.
So this is where you come up with that core value, and then figure out, what can I do right now? What am I willing and able to do?
Right.
And the other thing is focus on the positive. We have a negativity bias, and it's just rampant. It's just the way our culture is. So generally, people are having at least 3 negative thoughts to every positive one. So when I'm training people to be coaches, I'm talking about, we stay away from the negative. People are going to go negative, but we're going to stay away from it. So I talk about, if you think of quadrants, where you have across maybe the top would be past and future, and across the up and down you have negative and positive. So the only 2 places we want to be is past positive and future positive. Yeah. So when someone says, it just crashed and burned, it didn't work, this was bad, that was bad, I'm going to say, well, what did work? Or what can you take from it? So I'm not going to stay behind the obstacle. We're going to come around it.
Right.
And talk about what can be gained from that. And then move it straight out into, all right, how can we use that for the next time? So now we're going into future positive.
Right.
So staying out of negative.
Right. We always say failing forward.
Failing
part
forward.
of it.
That's it. Yeah. Falling up, failing forward, whatever you want to call it. But that's key, because there's really interesting research on this positive mindset and how that actually changes brain chemistry. This neuroplasticity is a really interesting thing. And, memories and feelings and stuff are generally stored in part of the brain, the limbic system, amygdala, whatever. But your thoughts and your logic are in the prefrontal cortex. And those two parts of the brain don't communicate very well.
Unless it's on the emotional level, correct?
Well, the emotional level, you'll feel that emotion, that feeling, right? But then there's that part of the brain that's doing the thinking, that logic, thought, rationalizing, figuring things out. The issue is, though, those two parts don't necessarily communicate together very well, but you can train them to do better. And so by taking feelings and thinking them through and articulating them, you actually become better at managing emotion, managing feeling, and controlling when those negative feelings, those negative thoughts come in. You can control them better.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Is it self-talk or is it actually audible speaking?
It could be either, but the more you turn it into words, the more you have to process it, and the better it is.
Okay, so if you actually, whenever people are talking into the mirror,
yeah,
that's those positive enforcements and things like that.
Yeah,
I guess you're getting it from different senses as well, so you retain it better.
Yeah, you're using more of your brain. The critical piece is the positive self-talk. There's no doubt about that, because now it's another part of your brain that turns that into words. But if you're talking in your brain, you need to turn it into words in your brain.
Oh,
Even
okay.
if you don't say them out loud.
Got it.
Because now you're going to force yourself into non-vague thoughts, because they're going to have to get crisper. And when you do that, the nerves are firing in the brain, and nerves that fire together wire together. So over time, you end up building a better brain for managing your day-to-day situations. And so for me, and this is somewhat lucky because I stumbled on this, but the years of doing the marathons and the ultra marathons and sticking it out has really shaped who I am. And part of it is because it's changed my brain,
right?
To get to the point where, I won't quit. Whatever we're doing, I'm in. And you're going to have to kill me to get me to quit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now that's not ultra marathon. That's just if I'm coming to help you, tear down your shed, or doesn't matter what it is. But if I'm on your team, count on me, because you're going to have to kill me to get me to quit.
Yeah.
And that is the way that my brain has been rewired from doing the sport. Mm-hmm. And now I can use the sport that way.
But you didn't know that when you started.
Not at all. I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, so what the fascination, the curiosity as to why you didn't stop, is that the driving reason why you know so much more about it? Just being plugged into that world. It seems to me that your tenacity to not stop has invigorated your curiosity as to why.
Yeah, so this is sort of what came first situation, the chicken or the egg, because I am naturally curious, and I've always have been, and sort of a natural philosopher. I want to know. Mm-hmm. And so the two things sort of go hand in hand, the wanting to know more and doing it at the same time. Again, I get all in on something. And so once I started doing it, I couldn't stop researching it and being part of it. Because you can sit and read all day and sit on the couch and say, all right, I can go around 100 miles, but get out there and see it happening, and you realize, there's a lot more to this, a lot more.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get off the couch and go do this, because that's just dumb. And people get excited, like they'll read a book and then all of a sudden they're trying to run 30 miles and they wreck themselves.
Yeah.
Because have respect for the people that are doing it, and realize that those people aren't just rolling out and doing it. Because even though it's between your ears, you can make yourself a lot more successful by paying attention to what you need to actually do to get it done. And that's where immerse yourself in it. So for me, being on these medical teams, I was seeing so much. And meeting people. I've mentioned to you before, like David Goggins, and chatting with him a couple times, and quite a few other people that do this kind of thing, and realizing, all right, this is what they're doing, and I get it. I see.
Yeah, you want to talk about a guy that suffers?
Yeah, he's willing to.
He's willing to do whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. In fact.
But he's a sweetheart otherwise.
Oh yeah. He yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the first time I saw him, I didn't know who he was, and he was running in that race.
And that was Badwater?
Badwater, yeah. So it's in the morning. It was like 90 degrees. It was nice and cool, and
nice and cool at 90.
Yeah, but the humidity was high for the desert. It was like 20% humidity. So with the race
About to rain.
race got started. I'm driving up. The first aid station is like 17 miles. So I was at the start line, getting people's body weights and checking them in and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know who he was. And we're driving up, and I look out the window at this guy, and he's wearing a ripped up brown tank top, and everybody else got their high tech stuff on and everything. And I'm like, oh, this guy's not going to make it to the first aid station. You know? Okay, I was totally wrong.
Yeah.
I think he came in 5th that day. And didn't want or need help from us in any way. He had everything locked down and made it through. So, but then another year I was there collecting data with some students, and the race was pretty much over. You know, people were finishing their. They had a timeline that you got to finish in a certain amount of time. Now Goggins had finished, and what most people do, it finishes up the side of this mountain. The last 13 miles are up the side of a mountain, and you've run 135 miles through the desert on blacktop. So the temperature down by your feet is like 200 degrees. People's shoes literally melt. So they'll run on the white line of the road. So people finish this race. They get in a car. They go down to Lone Pine. They get a shower, and they sit and don't move really. So Goggins had finished a while back. I had forgotten about him. He was back down the mountain doing what everybody does. And I got my group. We were collecting data. We got our stuff together, got in the van. I'm like, all right, we got to drive back through the desert. Get back to fly out of here. So we got back, and we're basically driving back on the course. So, timeline's up. This is it. So we drive down the mountain. We drive through Lone Pine. We pull out of Lone Pine, then back out the desert. We get about 4 miles down the road, and there's these 2 guys. One of them's really limping, and the other one's going beside him. We get closer and closer. I realize this is a guy that's still out on the course, and Goggins, because he found out somebody was still on the course and wouldn't let him be out there alone.
Yep.
And so he had someone take him out there.
Wow.
So so this guy would not be alone. And that's the kind of, like the ability to put away how you feel and do the right thing.
To empower somebody else.
That's consistent with your core. And that's what it was for him. So the next year at the start line, I said, listen, I don't want to bother your prep here. But I said, I've been in sport my whole life. And what I saw last year might have been the greatest display of sportsmanship I've ever seen. And I just expressed that to him, and he was gracious and sweet.
Yeah,
and then after the finish at the party, I talked to him again, where he's devouring an entire pizza at that point. But just a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Go back out after you just crushed yourself.
135 miles.
You know,
and
in the desert.
You can't explain how that feels unless I've only gone 100, and it's hard to describe how that feels.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want to go another step.
Yeah. I remember when I first started running. So I was in the military, and we would do like 2 mile runs and stuff like that. So I had that kind of built in me.
Yeah.
So I started doing like little races, and then I was like, oh, I do a 5K. Then I was like, oh, I want to push myself a little more. Then I want to do a half, and that's all I went through. And then I actually blew my calf, couldn't do it anymore, all that other good stuff. But there was so many things that I didn't know. With like running. Right. Like I remember the first time I was doing a half and I picked up an orange slice and I was like, this is amazing. Like, why am I still able to keep going? Right. Because I didn't know. I didn't have that data in my mind. I just had it in my mind. I want to do this half.
Right.
But I took that orange slice and I was like, I feel awesome. Right. And I was like, that was like the first, because I would look at people eating while they're running.
Yeah. You're like, how can you do that?
I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And I popped it. It was like all my senses were going off. I was like, this is woo. Right. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But those are the little things. People have it in their mind that we're gonna do something, not knowing how we're gonna do it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it goes back to your point.
Well, I'm like Pavlov's dog whenever I'm on the race too, because I'll pack some snacks, some good these snacks that I look forward to getting at the next aid station.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous, but that's something that goes through my head. It's like, hey, man, whenever you get up there, a piece of watermelon's up there. And my mouth starts like salivating.
Yeah.
It's weird. It is so weird to be out there totally struggling, just getting crushed. And then that stupid thing that goes through your head, it's like, hey, there's a piece of watermelon up there. And you're like, oh, yeah. I remember that now. And then you just go.
Yeah, the little things.
Sometimes it is the superficial things that can keep me going.
Well, yeah, but that's, again, when you keep your eye on the path, the obstacle disappears.
Yeah.
And so whatever it takes for you to stay eyes
I guess
on
that would
the
be
path,
another, like, hey, that's a positive reinforcement,
Exactly.
that staying on the path
That's
instead of my legs hurt.
Exactly. And so you find that way. Like for me, I always have chicken noodle soup somewhere out close to 30 miles. And because it's starting to get tired by then. There's just no way around it. And I know that I'm getting that chicken noodle soup. And I know it probably sounds crazy to people that aren't familiar with ultra marathons.
Yeah.
But that's my go-to. And so I look forward to it. And then later down the road, I know I'm going to have it again. And it's absolutely a mental boost as much as it's a physical boost.
Well, and then you know, hey, at 30 miles, I'm going to have chicken noodle soup. So I'm going to strive for that chicken noodle soup. And then when you get it, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't
dude,
wait
I've
for
seen
that
his face.
second.
I've seen his face at chicken noodle soup miles, and it's a new man after that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely a new man after that.
Right.
And then I come in and help him out, push
Even
him
if you
across
don't-
the finish line.
Even if you don't break it down in miles, like you're looking, I can't wait to get my third bowl of chicken
That's
noodle
it.
soup.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
Well, and the other thing
yeah.
is
Crazy.
It's being in the moment. Like it's possible to not think about the miles because if you love to be in the woods on the trail and you're all right moving along and you can embrace the suck, then it's not even about the miles. It's about I'm gonna spend the day on the trail. And like you said about the aid stations, it's a huge family.
Yes.
Like I've done triathlons and I've done a lot of marathons, and it's not the same. You get out into the ultra groups that are out in the forest, and it's like a giant family reunion. Everybody's pulling for each other. You're all on the same team. And so you end up meeting people along the way. And now you're not even thinking about miles. I think I'm in the woods with these guys. We're having a chat, talking about stuff. And man, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
It is so good to be out there. And that's another reason I like the ultras more than I do the marathon. The marathon's just it's usually on pavement and you're running on roads. And then ultras, you're on the trail.
Right.
For the most part, out in the middle of nowhere through the mountains. And for us, that's great, especially geographically where we're at. There's mountains everywhere. There's trails everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can get out there and get it done.
Absolutely. It can be rugged, but think about this. All of us like to play. Kids like to play, but we lose that sometimes. So what do? We go in the woods and we stomp through mud and you get all dirty and you're out just having fun. And you maybe even fall down, right? You catch a toe and you go down.
Sure.
You get all dirty and stuff. And then people are telling you, hey, you're looking good, right? Somebody's going to tell you how good you look and you're eating sugary snacks. And what's more of a kid than that?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of play to it.
Bags of M&Ms,
That's
yeah.
it. And so
You're
if
right.
you get caught up in all of this, the torturous stuff, get out of that and realize this is play. And that's part of embracing the suck is can it be play when you have physical discomfort? And if you can make it play, you can conquer anything. And really, it's just now that's mindset stuff. How are you going to put whatever it is that you got to do or you want to do? How are you going to encapsulate that for you? And can you make it something that you're going to look forward to and get into? So be mindful and in the moment rather than this sucks and I want to get it done.
Yeah.
So making
the
it
play
more
part.
about life, taking it back to the mindset part, because some of the guys they're talking about ultra marathons. Like I can't even get off the couch eating a cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the end goal, but to get that workup to just do that, that's the.
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to what is your motivation, And I was on the Peloton this morning, and Alex Toussaint, he said, I can give you a bunch of one-liners, I can, try to motivate you, but it doesn't matter. None of what I'm telling you matters. It has to be you. You got to do it.
Right.
I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink it. Type of stuff.
Yeah.
And figuring out what are your go-to resources that are going to keep you going. For a lot of people, music keeps them going. For some people, listening to podcasts. I've done that during really long runs. And so there are those little tricks. I know there's watermelon coming, right? Carrying something. The last 100 miler I did, I had Rice Krispie treats with me. And, and so again, we talk about a little kid playing. I'm eating Rice Krispie treats in the woods, stomping through mud. And so. So it's a matter of what is it for you? Figure out what is it for me that's going to keep me going when there's a motivation to not go. And we've always got those motivations. So let's not pretend they're not there.
Right.
There's always a motivation to do the easy thing. And so
why do I need to go to work? Why do I have to get up? Why?
Well, that's the thing too that I was thinking about the other day. The hurdles and hoops that we jump through to go to work sometimes. We put our lives in danger driving on some of the roads that we do. whenever it's snowing and things like that. But you're there on time.
Yeah.
You show up.
Yeah. Well, and again, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to a job or you're running your own business or whatever that is. Have you found what it's really about for you so that you're going to give yourself to it and go in full go? And really, this is an area that I found that most people haven't done it. And this is what so with my executive coaching, sometimes this is what I'm trying to help the actual business do, is get back in touch with why do you exist in the first place?
Yeah.
And it can't be superficial.
Your purpose, right?
That's it. What is your purpose? And we've all got multiple purposes, and sometimes people just can't get in touch at all. And I'll ask them, well, tell me about some things that have shaped your life. Let's go back to the stories that you think of that have shaped you or that are really stand out in your life. And sometimes just if you look at a cluster of 3 or 4 stories, you'll find themes. And you'll say, well, I noticed every story you said, family was front and center, like something about right, or whatever it might be. The kids were right in there, or this had to do with you overcoming challenge, whatever. I don't know what it is. I never know what it is. But it's asking the questions. And sometimes that tells you what your values are.
Right.
What's the stuff that's been important to you your whole life?
I'm thinking back to our conversation, our first coaching session, and I'm like, oh, that's what he was doing.
Yeah. Right.
Because I told stories and that you did exactly that. You're like, well, it seems like this is your common theme throughout the whole thing. So being able to help others was definitely one of them for me.
You're getting a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I am. I'm like, hey, man, I'm seeing what was going on now.
Yeah, once you see how the trick works,
I'm telling you, you're the magician. I'm like peeking. Hey, come on, I see the extra.
The rabbit was
I see the extra pocket. But in all seriousness, it does work, because I think about that conversation that you and I had, and it was just one session, we've had many sessions on the trails and things like that, just talking through stuff. But I just can't thank you enough for just allowing me to come to you and you to be my coach throughout my running journey at this point, and a continued resource for me. You're my go-to resource for all of that. So I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And, again, it comes down to that ripple outward. And if I can help people have some of what I've gotten to enjoy, then I know that it sounds really silly, but it does change the world, because that person's going to ripple out to their kids, and those kids are going to ripple out to other people. And it's not very long. If you keep doing the math, it's not very long before tens and hundreds of thousands of people are touched. And to me, that's big. That's really big. And so as a teacher, I get to, there's a lot of ways to look at the way that I teach, because I also play a role of, it's almost a little intimidative the way, because I say that we're going to set the bar here and that's it. And so don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby. So get it done, find a way.
Oh, I love that.
And so students often aren't used to that, so they see that as intimidating. When none of your excuses matter to me.
Yeah.
Get it done. And so I can come off as a little tough that way, but I feel like even that is giving them something that they need, and being that person that's not going to let them find a way to do less than their ability. Yeah. And I think, and I'm at peace with that, even when they say that I can be intimidating. But I've also had them say, when they come into my office, they feel like they got to bring their best game. And I like that. Yeah. Because when would you not do that? Yeah. So let's make that a habit.
Yeah.
You
could take that easy right. You can go to that person that's always going to be like rainbows and unicorns, or you can have the dude who's going to tell you how it is. You got to
bring your A game when you're around me. I like that.
That's because this is what I'm going to do.
Not that like you're running around with that on your forehead or nothing, but like
yes, he is. I see it.
Yeah. but the perception that's who you need to be, right, to match that level. I love that. It brings out the best in people.
That's what I'm hoping for, and that's what my brand is, and what I want it to be. Because we should let's try to manage our own personal brand. Right. Who are you? What do people see you as? And manage that. And it can't be fake. It's got to be genuine. It's got to come back to those core values. But because mine are based, my brand is based on my core value, then it's not hard for me to live it. And so,
Yes.
because I'm going to tell people, I'm going to be on your team, right? With students or whomever, I will be on your team. I'll go, but I'm going to have expectations for you. And so let's talk right now. Are you good with that? Because if you're not going to come and try to do your best, then I can't care more than you do. So let me know if you want me on your team or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of, sometimes I'll say, like if I'm doing motivational interviewing or trying to, are you prepared for feedback?
Right. That's a good question.
Because are you prepared for feedback? Because you might not like what's going to happen. So you need to be mentally prepared to how I'm going to present this to you.
Yeah.
You should know, you should have the relationship with me to be like, all right, are you prepared for feedback?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're not, and if you tell me no, okay, that's it. And walk away.
Right.
Right. But you gotta.
Yeah. But there's something to be said for that honesty. And if somebody doesn't want that feedback, they're not ready for what you're giving them. And when you can be honest like that, really what you've done is created a safe space, even though it may not feel safe right away because you're giving them maybe some non-positive feedback.
Right.
But what that tells them is you're not going to bullshit them.
Yep.
And that means this is safe. Because I know that this guy's going to be honest with me. He's going to take what I have to say, and it's not going to be manipulated and thrown back at me with sunshine coming out of it.
Yeah.
And to me, when someone's willing to do that, and they're willing to like show their own scars and bruises and weaknesses, then that creates a safe space. Because nobody's perfect.
No.
And we got to realize that about ourselves, and realize if somebody's giving us feedback, it's because they're trying to help us out. And so I think being that way, as much as it seems non-intuitive, I think that creates a safe space.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
especially when I respect your saying no.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
There's the safe space. Right. Then they're like, oh, now when you're ready, I'll let you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And similarly, I'm going to be the guy that tells you have broccoli in your teeth. And I think we all want that. It never feels good when you realize I ate broccoli 6 hours ago, right? Right. So
I've been around a lot of people.
Yeah, that's it. And so that's not going to feel good,
right?
But ultimately, that person is doing you a service. And so, but I think that's fair. As you ask, do you want me to tell you there's broccoli in your teeth, or you want to go about your day smiling and feeling feeling like everything's
I'm gonna get it. I'm going to say, give me that broccoli.
Yeah. You're going the extra step.
Yeah. Super safe. All right. Well, hey, guys, let's end on the broccoli note. Where can they get your services at? Where are you at?
Well,
what are you up to?
The easiest way right now, I actually took my website down because I
noticed that this morning.
Yeah, I'm doing. Yeah, well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes right now.
Absolutely.
So I've been sort of undercover. But if somebody were to write this down, they could email me. So I'm going to stall for a couple seconds. So if someone wants to email me,
get your pen and paper.
That's it.
Get your notes out on your phone.
That's it. Yeah. And it's pretty easy. It's Jeff@CoachJeffLynn.com. So it's JEFF and LYNN. So Jeff@CoachJeffLynn.com. And that gets to me pretty quickly and easily. And
perfect.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming on.
I appreciate the offer and getting to spend this time with you guys.
Yeah,
I'm glad we can make it happen.
It was cool. It's right alongside what we got going on.
What do you got going on, Diaz?
We got that women's self-defense seminar up in Meadville. It's a free seminar. You can go to valorpds.com and check out whatever seminars we have. Firearms courses, training seminars.
Every second Saturday?
Every second Saturday. We got something.
Okay, very good.
Baby.
And we have a jiu-jitsu seminar on March 15th featuring Justin Michael. It's a fundraising event for his trip to the PANS, and it's the IBJJF PANS competition in California. So he's got hotel expense, flight expense. So he's going to be putting on a 3-hour seminar March 15th.
Wow.
From 10 until 1.
That's a deal.
And it's only $20
that
a
is
person.
A deal.
So please reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. You can get me at Ron Jordan, or also come up to the Academy. It's going to be at the ATA in Grove City, PA. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening, and hope you found this beneficial and useful for your next journey.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.